Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Saturday Morning RPG Show. My name is Jordan, with a silent PH in the middle, and I am the only one here. I don't know where Lucian is. I'm a little worried now. So he's usually on time, and he said that he was a game for a show today. But we are sans Lucian. But since I had everything set up, I was like, I might as well jump in and run a fun show for you guys. So how is everybody? Excited to be here. I have a likely story. You're talking about the PS5. So I have a couple of things to talk about here, but not a whole lot. So we'll see how far we get in general topicness. Doing really good. I got a haircut, so that is exciting. I was cast in a play, and I was talking like, hey, should I have long hair for this? And they were like, yeah, probably. But I don't think my hair is going to get long enough by the time the show opens for what they want. And I have to do like family Christmas pictures soon. And so, I decided to look a little less, get a little more trimmed up. Is what it is. So, I went to a Coheed and Cambria concert for my birthday. This was the beginning of the month, but very fun. Would recommend. 10 out of 10. Had a blast. And there's Lucian. Let's see if he pops on. He just got on. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to our wait screen, and then I will pull Lucian in. Hey, there's Lucian. Okay, let's see if I can disable my webcam. Oh, deactivate. There we go. And then if I go over here, I can start my video. Hey!
We're both there.
And then we're both there. Kind of. So much fun.
Yeah.
How are you, Lucian? How's it going?
Great.
Yeah?
Just missed what time it was there.
Oh, it's okay. We're making it work.
Thought I had an hour, and I was like, wait a minute, that's not right.
Yeah, not right at all. That's the opposite of right. Yeah, we were just living our best life, talking about I went to a Coheed and Cambria concert. I don't know if you are aware of them.
I didn't. I've heard of them. Yes, heard some songs.
I have a Coheed and Cambria sweatshirt now. It's very exciting.
Nice.
And I have a new overlay that I'm experimenting with, that everyone is watching
true.
me experiment with on the fly right now.
Perfect.
It's so exciting. Hey, there we go. Excellent. Good. Yeah. So we are gonna talk about all of the fun stuff in the worlds of Dungeons and Dragons. The video is up. We're good. Got full COVID. No shaving haircuts. Sorry, I was watching the things. Well, first of all, how are you? Besides running late.
Yeah. No. Good.
Good. Excellent.
just running late. Oh, yeah. So it's been it's rainy and cold. I don't know about where everybody else is, but
beautiful here. Couldn't ask for better weather. We're in the weird like middle summer where it got really cold and then it comes back. But so we just keep getting more and more Wizards of the Coast books. Like a lot of them. And this is the trail end of the month where we're just getting Planescape was the hot item and it was out. And now it is no longer Planescape because we are focused on the Book of Many Things.
Many things. Yeah.
What do you, Lucian, a man of many talents, know about the Book of Many Things?
I know that Ted really liked it from Gen Con. I know that he went and got to see the previews of it.
He did.
And it sounds like it's the kind of book that we all like.
Well, not the book.
I
want to ask you, what do you know about the Deck of Many Things? Like the old Magic item.
That's where I was wondering if you were going. Yeah. So, notoriously it has the campaign ender kind of moniker to it, where typically once a dungeon master has, tried to deploy it in some fun way, things have gone quite awry. We've seen it used in Critical Role, so that's another area
when did
that
they
we've
use
seen.
it? Oh, that's right.
The
barbarian got his soul captured or something, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pulling those, so that can lead to something. And I know it's not a full deck of 52 cards, so you're going to tell us the exact number because I know you've looked into it a little bit more.
Yeah. So
those are the things I know.
Yeah. So the original Deck of Many Things, I'm trying to think of the magic item. Let's see. Deck of Many Things, Forgotten Realms magic item. It was a 22 card deck. That's right. So you could use an actual 52 card deck and the cards would balance out to certain things. So it's like, oh, you have the Ace of Spades, that's the Comet, or you have this. And so you would like build your own kind of pretend deck. And it's just like a weird, I don't know where, I'm trying to think of like where this came from, or if it was just like, I want to create like Gary Gygax, like I want to just make a weird, I don't know, terrible thing that happens to players, because some of it is really cool. Like, oh, I level up, or I get 50,000 gold pieces, or I do this or something like that. And then the other one is like, my soul is gone, or I'm dead, or I have to do all this other things. I played a second edition game where we basically did the Deck of Many Things. And then afterwards, we're gone. Like the campaign ended because Gonzo stuff happened and the DM was like, well, I'm out. And that's probably why he brought it in, because it was like the ruiner of all games. So I'm also kind of excited for this upcoming book, because the Book of Many Things is the Deck of Many Things, but also with like a user guide, which is almost necessary. So now Wizards of the Coast came out with a couple videos, because Planescape's out. We'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah.
But they came out with some videos about like, what is it? How do you use it? What's going on behind it? Blah, blah, blah. And they've expanded the 22 card deck to 66 cards. So there's a lot more cards, a lot more nonsense that can happen. And then there's a almost 200 page hardcover book. And the book has, you pulled the, like, I don't know, the Demon Eats Your Soul card. And then you can go to that section of the book and it has like, here's 3 applicable demons, their motivations for coming after you, and all of this other stuff, which I thought was, is very useful, because if you're just using the deck as the magic item in the Dungeon Master's Guide, it has little to no assistance on how to actually, utilize it. So you're like, I don't know, like, what does this happen? Another cool thing I thought of is that they said before it was always like gold, like if you get the card that gives you 50,000 gold or something, it just appears in front of you. But the way they are introducing this is that you can use this as like a foreshadowing. So kind of like a tarot deck where it's like, okay, let's read your fortune. And so if you get the money card, then you know that like within the next week of adventuring, you're going to come into a lot of money somehow. And so that also allows the DM to have time to like figure out how to work this into the story. And the other really cool thing about this product I thought was neat is they said in their video that they had, they used the cards to create an adventure. So they took like 6 cards, they shuffled them up, and then based on their meanings, they like laid them out and made a little adventure. And then they gave those same cards to another developer at Wizards of the Coast and said, you make an adventure. And then they gave them to another one and said, you make an adventure. And with those same cards, they made 3 very different adventures. So the amount of like, I don't know, the customizability and just like being able to come up with games on the fly is something that I really enjoy. Like, I like the idea of like, talk about like a sandbox or something where you're like, I don't know, let's see what's over that horizon. Oh, it's this. And then here's a book that's going to help me actually facilitate that.
Exactly.
There's a lot of talk because this is $100 and everyone's like $100. And I was trying to think, Spelljammer was $100, I think, or maybe it was a little less. Planescape, I don't remember how much Planescape was. Was Planescape $100? $94. So yeah. So Planescape is 3 books. It was a box set. It's $100. So I wonder if they're kind of not pushing this, but like they're going to make these nice higher tier products towards the end kind of a thing.
Glory of the Giants was $69.95 on their webpage. Phandelver Below $69.95 on their webpage.
And they did increase their prices. We'll talk about that in a second because other companies are increasing their prices. But you're getting the Book of Many Things. You're getting the expanded 66 cards. Like, you get the actual cards with this. And then you get an 80-page hardcover book that showcases each of the cards in the deck. So you have like a reference book, all the cards, and then like the actual book to help you. To me, that feels like it's worth $100. Like, I was thinking back to the Curse of Strahd box set they came out, and they got a lot of flack for not having that be hardcover to save money. And it was like, it's $100 and they're not even hardcover. But at the same time, you were getting like the Taraka deck and a bunch of other stuff. And so this just feels like it's okay for $100. I don't know. Maybe if they were decoupled so that I could buy just the book for $60, because I'm going to use my own handmade cards or something, or I'm going to buy a tarot deck and kind of like fancy it up to work with my game. Because tarot decks are all the rage now. Like, you can get all kinds of different tarot decks for really cheap in any kind of format you ever wanted. So, well,
and I wonder if they add into that price a little bit that you're also getting the digital copy. They're giving you the D&D Beyond version of this stuff also, which they've not done previously. For those of us that have bought lots of things, both the physical book and I want to have it on D&D Beyond.
Yeah.
It's,
well, and I will say that is a promotion right now. I think it's going to be $100 in general, but the promotion on their website is $100 for also the digital bundle, but it's $110 with normally. So like, it's discounting down to $99. So, but this is clearly not marked for players, which is kind of an interesting thing, because usually they have, like, the Giants book that came out was a monster book also for Dungeon Masters, but it had little sprinklings of like, here's some backgrounds and here's like a class, or here's a subclass, and here's this. This is like just information for a Dungeon Master, which is something that I like because I want supplements like this. So I'm actually really excited for this now.
Up to 66 cards, right? So that's like 22 was the original. They add 44, so they double what the original was and add to the original. That's a lot of cards now. Yeah, it's a lot. And so, and to have them all do stuff and to have like a cool physical prop at the table. I do think I would really like that they used like a traditional tarot deck or something so that you could customize it. And I bet there will be people online that create something to that effect. And then it makes me wonder if all 66 of these cards will be in the new Dungeon Master's Guide, or is this like the new standard, or is it always going to be 22 cards and then this supplement has the extra, the extra, what, 40 whatever, so 44. Yeah. But that's the new Book of Many Things. I was trying to remember when it came out. I don't remember. November 14th. So yeah, a little less than a month away. This is early access on Halloween.
And so we'll probably be seeing a lot more. There's already people that have review copies floating around. So if you want to go look through it, I know a couple of YouTubers who have them, and I've watched their videos. So you can see if you like it. We'll see. Yeah, I like the whole adventure building. I think that's the thing I'm most excited about of it, is that you can use the cards for adventure building. Much like you could the Taraka deck from Curse of Strahd. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen some other game systems and some other DMs that run, basically they have a Terra deck version of something that they create, so that during character creation, they might have the characters pull one or two, and that helps inform a little bit about, the characters themselves. But then as the adventure goes by, they get to pick another Terra, and that's the piece that helps them then. What's the future going to be like? So like there's one about like what's your past, what's your present, and then eventually they play a little bit, and they're like, all right, it's time for you to pick your future card, and then they pick that, and then the DM is able to take that and creatively try to work a way in that it would make sense that this is something that will befall the characters in the future. So
yeah, foreshadowing.
Definitely fun
I like
to think
that.
about. Yeah.
And
but
like
still
foreshadowing,
random, right? Still just out of the there's no planning to it. It's just like you have to react to it, or you have to be able to maneuver with it, which makes it, I think, fun.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's I don't know, that those are the kind of things that I really like. Tables, stuff like that, things that help me make a game move forward. And this feels like it was a magic item that halted games, and now it's one where it's like, the game's kind of like, everyone's kind of like, I don't know, and now it's like I'm injecting new energy into it. So yeah. Planescape 5e is out. I've read most of it via D&D Beyond because I don't have a physical copy yet. But I do think I'm going to pick it up. And a lot of people are talking about, is this worth it? Is this because Planescape has a big fan base. I mean, this was a big, pedestal that Planescape was on. It's kind of intimidating to try and bring it to 5e in any way. And it's getting mixed reviews. Some people are like, this is a worthy addition to Planescape, and other people are like, why would you ever play this? And I was kind of going through a couple of tabletop news sites, and people are back and forth, and you can tell some people are like, One thing I took away from this, though, is like, Planescape not only had the Planescape box set for 2nd edition, but they also had like 30 other supplements that were like, here's a book just about Hades, and here's a book just about the Abyss, and here's an adventure, and here's this. And to capture all of that in a single box set is probably not going to happen. Planescape also, in that regard, I will say, like, this is not the full Planescape, but I think it is a good introduction to the Planes of Existence as a whole. And that 2nd edition material is still out there. You can still pick it up. One thing that somebody was saying is that there used to be a big, like, chaos and law, good and evil, philosophical divide and discussion about the planes. Like, what is inherently evil, and why is it in this lower plane, and what does that mean? Or what is inherently good, and what can befall you to become chaotic good, and things like that. And that also seems to be missing. It's really more of a here's the planes, I guess, of existence. Here's the Outlands. Here's Sigil.
Yeah, because alignment has really gone by the wayside, really.
And I was wondering if 2024 will not have alignment. So talking to Celeste Konowich, I was talking to her at Gen Con, and I guess the Tales of the Valiant, they did a survey, and it was like overwhelmingly, everyone was like, get rid of alignment. And she's like, oh, okay, done. Like, if nobody wants it, we'll get rid of it. So Tales of the Valiant will not have alignment. And Dungeon Crawl Classics, you can all take a drink now, has alignment, but in the sense of chaos, neutrality, and law. There's no good and evil. So it is, but that was a fundamental principle of old Gygax D&D, is that, like, the forces of chaos are trying to destroy the world, like the entropy is real, and the forces of law are trying to hold on to civilization, and there's that eternal struggle. One side will never win, kind of a thing. And to just get rid of that is kind of interesting, but there's lots of other RPGs that don't have that, fantasy aside. Like, it's like, I don't know, Numenera and any of the other things. Like, I was like, well, of course, Kids on Bikes isn't going to have that, but it's like your actions choose who you are. And I've never enjoyed players being like, well, I am chaotic neutral, so I have to act like this. It's like, no. But I do like it in Planescape when it relates to the planes, because if you take a chaotic character and put them in a lawful setting, they feel uncomfortable, or like spells don't work the same way or something like that. And that was something about Planescape I really liked, where you had an area of the Outland or of the Great Wheel that you felt comfortable in, and you have another area where you don't feel comfortable in. And that apparently has gone the wayside, for good or the worse. There's also a big emphasis on the multiverse, which I think is the buzzword because of Marvel and stuff like that. And D&D wants Planescape to be their multiversal hub, with maybe Sigil being like the TVA, and you can kind of go anywhere and everywhere all at once. I don't know if that will work out, because Sigil was never really meant to be a place like that, and they're kind of shoehorning it in. So we'll see.
It's a city of doors, though. So,
but you're right. It is the city of doors. It's on paper. It's like the perfect place to do it. So it is kind of the TVA. Yeah. Which, man, a TVA. I just watched Loki's episode 3 last night of season 2.
We did too. I was just like, we just watched it.
And so the TVA would be such a great D&D campaign, I think. Like, going back and you're like, you have to stop this guy because he did this and he's running amok through all of these different worlds, and you have to like dress up and pretend, like, how fun would that be? The adventure, I hear, is fun for Planescape. So that I haven't read. I just went through kind of the supplemental material, but I do like all the information on the gate towns and how gate towns work and things like that. And the information on Sigil is very useful, and the maps are beautiful. So I will. And
I also feel like Planescape kind of dovetailed well back in the day with Spelljammer. I always thought that it's what gave Spelljammer all the different worlds and places it could go, like, all the different planes. It could go all the places in those planes. And yes, there were other worlds they could go to, but really you would be going to a lot of these other planes too, or, experiencing that stuff too. So I thought, but how do you bring that forward into 5e unless, like you said, there's 50 books out there that, were supplements, because they went supplement happy, where everybody, a fighter got a book, a thief got a book, like everybody got their book. 5e hasn't really been that way. It's always been a condensed down of, we'll take some of that and put it in a book or box set, and then we kind of step away and we walk away, which I think the fans, when they say we want Planescape, we want Spelljammer, we want Dark Sun, we want, this or that, in their minds, I'm thinking I get multiple books that are going to help define that. When reality is, we should know, if they even decide to do it, they're only going to give us one book for it. They're not diving in at this point, and still not an original book, right? Like an original, never before seen place that didn't exist in first or second or third edition or fourth edition. It seems like we still haven't got to that point where the designers get to create something we haven't been to yet, or done, or, just like we're still Forgotten Realms. We're still, all that stuff. So I'm still surprised. I don't know if the D&D 2024, right? That's the name that they're launching around. Are they going to open this world up? Are we going to get to see new lore? Are we going to get to see new places? Or is it still just going to be, we're building the tools and we really just want the DMs to build the worlds? Right? Yeah.
And I think that's it. Like, I think they want to make a Planescape product and then allow the DMsGuild to fill in all of the blanks for things. And since Planescape has been open, there's a flood of DMsGuild Planescape products. Like, there's a $1 supplement for every gate town. There was all kind. I found so much AI generated art, and some of it I'm like, well, that looks kind of cool. And then I looked closer and I'm like, that skeleton has three rows of teeth instead of 2. That's weird.
Yeah.
So lots of stuff like that. But that was always their plan because TSR knew they spiraled down too far when they made too many supplements. So it makes sense. But at the same time, like, I really want more Eberron stuff, you know? And luckily I got that through Keith Baker, but like, we're not, are we going to see another long, you know, full book adventure from Wizards of the Coast set in Eberron? And I'm like, well, I don't think we ever will. Maybe they say that it's on the horizon.
Make the new Eberron? Like, when's the new world? The new, hey guys, we're going to create this new fantastical place, and we're bringing in these designers or writers or famous people, you know, or people we've already heard of, or we're doing a contest to bring in, you know, the best ideas.
But create a new IP, a new world, new characters. I think that would be. I've always wanted that. We've always liked that idea of, rather than trying to shoehorn 5e mechanics in a 2e setting, you know, make a 5e setting. Like, explain where Dragonborn come from. Explain where Changelings come from, you know? Like, how do they work in 5e? Because that's what they did with Eberron in 3rd edition, and Eberron has stood the test of time, so... yeah, there's a lot of Planescape material on the DMs Guild. I don't know. I'm excited. I want to read the Planescape adventure and see where it goes. But Paizo announced that they're raising their prices to basically match Wizards of the Coast. So a certain number of page books will be $60, basically going from $50 to $60. And I was in a Discord with some other indie publishers, like Ben Milton was there and a bunch of other people, Chris McDowd. And it was really fun to talk to them, because when they announced this, when Wizard announced that, they were like, oh, good, everybody can raise their prices now. And we don't have to lower our prices, because Wizards of the Coast sets the standard for how much people will pay for an RPG. And I never really thought about that, but that is exactly right. Because if you're Paizo and you're just like, well, our books are $80, they're like, well, I can go play D&D for $60, so bye.
Yeah.
They have to match what Wizards of the Coast does. So if Wizards of the Coast says this is a $60 product, all of a sudden all of these other tabletop RPGs can say, oh, well, now our $40 product is a $50 product. And I'm sure inflation and a lot of other things has to do with some of these prices, but it was interesting to me that Paizo was like, we are going to also raise our rates now that they didn't say directly because Wizards of the Coast did, but it was directly because Wizards of the Coast did. And thank you, Mo Peach, for the $2 donation. I know the Drow Patreon game, you want that so bad. I just don't know if I have the time, but I really do. I really do love the idea. So they said a 128-page book will be $45, and a 192 will be $60, a 256 will be $70, and a 300+ book will be $80. So, and I'm assuming that's like, you know, a 128-page adventure, or maybe like a small supplement or something.
And I've always felt the Paizo books are packed a little bit more page-wise than Dungeons and Dragons, Wizards of the Coast books for the most time. Like they've got a 640-page, you know, Pathfinder 2nd edition guide, which is their core rulebook, is $640, and that's $69 on their website right now. So I mean, they put out some big content-filled books also, along with, but I could see where, you know, some of the adventure books, which are probably like those 128-page ones, are going to be that price. But I've always felt like they gave a really good value for that same price point that they were at. They were giving a little bit more. Their books were just a tiny bit bigger. And usually you can wait and you can get the pocket-sized ones too. And I believe the pocket-sized ones are usually less priced if you're not old and your eyes can read them, because now Dan has gotten old. And you should have gotten old. That's starting to be a problem, but they are cool to have the pocket-sized ones. I still really enjoy those over the other ones, just for handling them. Just
at the table,
be ready. The print is small.
Yeah, I bought the Pathfinder First Edition Game Mastery Guide Pocket Edition. Not because I play Pathfinder, but it has so much good tables and information for NPCs and stuff, and so that was like, and for what, maybe it was like $15-20 at the time. Like they're really cheap.
It was a good price.
Yeah, it's a good price, but it's just a small paperback book. But sometimes that's all you need,
Yeah.
And I think I got the PDF with it too, so it's like, okay.
And typically what we see is release prices and back of the book printed prices. Obviously, if you wait a month, Amazon sales, bundle sales, all those things can bring it down for those of us that are like, we want to pinch our pennies a little bit. We want to save our money. There's always ways to do that if you're just patient a little bit. They're always trying to get those people that want early access or they want, book on day one. Those are the people we're always trying to get into their wallet deeper and deeper and deeper. It seems like. So.
But I wonder if I don't think a $10 increase is going to push anyone away from the hobby, because it's always been reliant on like a few people buying it and then getting their friends to play. And so I still have friends that are like super active into Dungeons and Dragons, and they have never bought anything. Like, they never bought a player's handbook. They never bought all of that other stuff. All they do is leech. I shouldn't say leech, but they have access to everything because of D&D Beyond, and they're good. They're like, yeah, our friend bought it. I just like utilize that. And I'm like, whoa, okay. As
a group, you could just pool your money together, just buy D&D Beyond stuff, and your group then has that access, which hopefully they never remove in that way. And then, you can have your whole group paid for that kind of stuff.
So, I don't know.
I think they're willing to pay that money just because look at the price of some of those miniatures that they put out. Some of the, you buy a blue dragon, the WizKids stuff, and like people are buying that stuff, and that's mega money, right?
That's
and
true.
You're buying Forge World or Forge tiles, and you're buying, there's people are willing to spend money. So it's definitely a hobby of people that have expendable income. They're willing to really kind of throw out on some of this stuff. So
it's interesting because it is a hobby where you could put like no money in or like all of the money in. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Thousands and thousands of dollars. Yeah.
I wanted to point this out. There's a couple of cool sales. One of them is Humble Bundle has a Vampire the Masquerade sale. And it's through like Renegade Game Studios, I think. But yeah, $18 for 20 PDFs. I've never played any Vampire the Masquerade. This is the newer one, I think. But it's the same system. It's like a D10 system. So, have you ever played Vampire or Werewolf or Mage or all the other ones?
For a brief moment, I knew a group that was playing it, and I was interested in the werewolf part of it, because if anything in that world, that's the part I would kind of lean to more than be the vampire. But never actually did play it. But it's funny that I knew lots of people that did, and I have seen some live plays and stuff. I've watched a few series on some live plays, and it's definitely, I always imagined it as being the actors or thespians role-playing game. It's
more
the people
more
that
role play
really
rather
like
than
to get into their character, and
combat.
It's about conversation and discussion and being your character versus there's a bunch of dice rolls happening and we're moving miniatures anywhere, any of that kind of stuff. Yeah, and they do a lot of live play stuff.
That's how I always remember it. Yeah, is that they have the we're all gonna dress like our characters. We're gonna go to a ball or something, and then you're pretending you're your character. I wonder if that also has to do with I don't know. I guess like embodying your character and things like that is kind of. Yeah. But I've always thought of it as LARPing light, I guess.
Yes. Yeah. From the experience that I've had or seen the people or met the people that have played it, that's what it always reminded me of. So which is great. There's lots of people that love that.
I want to play it at some point, but it's kind of like my Cthulhu quest that I eventually got, where I want somebody who really likes Vampire to run it for me. And now that I think about it, my friend here, she was big into Vampire back in the like 2000s, and I think she still has all the books. And we were pressuring her a while ago to be like, run us a vampire game. She's like, oh, I don't know, like, but with
You're
her
not ready for this.
maybe she'll have, maybe it's like we'll go get this. But I bought and read Mage the Ascension, which is in the Vampire the Masquerade universe, but you play wizards. In like Dresden File kind of wizards. And I always wanted, that's the one I gravitated towards. You talk about like werewolves and stuff. Like I like that idea of just being like, I don't know, modern day warlock detective, like running around solving crimes with magic and stuff. So
yeah, Dresden's a great story, great show. Loved that.
There's a Dresden RPG if you're interested.
Yes.
There's also sorry, my link is not working.
No.
So there was an RPG zine called Weird Science, WIRD Science. And they made 4 zines, issues 1, 2, 3, 4. I didn't really know what this was, so I never really picked it up, but I thought the art was really cool and things like that. Well, they're giving it away for free right now. So usually I think they charge like $10 a zine, but it's on drive-thru and it's on itch.io for pay what you want right now. I went and had picked them up, and these are actually interviews with other people about RPGs and RPG design. They are not dissimilar from the Knock magazine, if you're familiar with those, which are kind of like the OSR zine of like, here's a bunch of tables, and the next page might be an article on monster design, and then the next page is like how to play a space vampire. So I think it's worth checking out because it's free, and I think they're also trying to get the word out because they might be trying a volume 2 soon, and they want to get the word out. But yeah, you should check it out because it's free, and I think some of those articles are really cool, and I would like to see more zines like this survive and thrive because lots of really cool, useful information there. And it's also fun to have in a booklet form. I mean, these are PDF, but I assume they had a print version at some point. Who knows? So, but Weird Science. And you can let me know what your favorite Weird Science thing is, I guess. Oh.
And we know what the last book that that's coming this year, so we just talked about that. Have we had any indication besides the new Player's Handbook, Dungeon Master's Guide, Monster Book for 2024? No other books have been announced or anything else. Like what else might be happening for next year, content-wise? And we didn't get did we get a Magic the Gathering book this year?
This year, no. I don't think so. The last Magic book was Strixhaven.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so I thought that was interesting that the tie-in to that other game, which had been a big push for the last at least 2 or 3 years, 4 years almost, we didn't see one this year, and I wonder if that tie-in part is done, but or not.
Yeah, I think the Magic team has their own timeline, and I, as far as like bringing Magic into D&D, I don't know why they did or did not. And I don't even know what the next setting would be that they would do that with. Yeah. But it was interesting seeing there were 2 sets that made, there was a Baldur's Gate set that got into Magic, and then there was the Forgotten Realms Adventures that got into Magic. And now Magic is like fully diving into, here's our Lord of the Rings, here's our
all
Doctor Who,
IPs,
here's that.
Yeah, they're like everywhere.
There's a couple of conspiracy theories out there that are people, I shouldn't say conspiracy theories, but there are people out there that are saying this will be the downfall of Wizards and Magic because comic books did the same thing where they started like Marvel comics, and it became like an investment. Like, oh, well, I better buy this plus the 13 variant covers because if I have them all, then, and I sit on them for 10 years, they'll go up in price this much. But the problem is if everybody's doing that, then the cards or the comics don't actually go up in worth, and you can't find anybody to buy them. And so people are saying, like, people are treating Magic like an investment as opposed to playing the game. And Wizards is shifting their booster packs kind of based on that. And so it's like, well, if everybody's collecting but nobody's playing, then I think we have a problem. And so I don't know. I don't follow the Magic scene. I casually play on Arena, but that was because the Lord of the Rings pulled me back in, and I was like, oh, this is fun, and now I'm not playing again because I don't really care.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I just noticed that they're coming soon, a Ravnica remastered, and the reason that popped up in my head is because Ravnica was the one that really drew me in, and I really liked the book Wizard put out for Dungeons and Dragons 5e. I think it's my favorite of the Magic the Gathering books that they did was the Ravnica book.
They didn't do a Ravnica book, did they?
Yeah.
The vampires?
That's the guild, the guild land.
Oh, Ravnica's the guild. I was thinking of Innistrad.
The guilds, the 12. Yeah, Innistrad, the guilds. Yeah, they haven't done that one.
You're right. Ravnica.
So they're doing a Ravnica remastered in Magic the Gathering card set. So they're going to come back and add more artwork and more stuff to that. Then there's the Lost Caverns of Ixalan, which is a world we haven't seen. I think could be a pretty cool world for like a Dungeons and Dragons campaign setting. But then I just saw the other two reaching out to the outside IPs, like we just mentioned. Fallout is coming and Assassin's Creed is coming to Magic the Gathering. So I'm like, all right, they're really reaching out to these different areas. And we haven't seen that in Dungeons and Dragons yet. Like, way outside the IP coming into Dungeons and Dragons. I wonder if Wizards will ever do that one with their D&D, or if they'll just keep it full fantasy like they have. So, or more movie tie-in too. Like, we haven't heard anything about, are they going to do the next movie? Are they going to do another movie? Are they going to do more stuff that supports the movie? Because it was pretty successful as far as I understand.
It wasn't.
I liked it.
It wasn't Marvel successful. It was a good movie, but it wasn't Marvel successful. And Hasbro sold their Paramount sub-share of the movie, liquidated a bunch of stuff. So they still have the potential to make another one. But Transformers also didn't make a lot of money. The latest Beast Wars movie. So movie-wise, I think Hasbro is like gonna take a breath and try again later. And we'll see.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
All right.
So that got me thinking about something. Oh, Magic the Gathering's coming out with a Final Fantasy set at some point. Which I was talking about, like we talk about like what is D&D, and if I really wish that D&D had the same mentality as Final Fantasy, because Final Fantasy like 6 and Final Fantasy even 7
reinvents itself.
like the Final Fantasy 4 and Final Fantasy 7, very different games, very different worlds. Like, you're just like, what the hell is happening? There's materia in one, there's spells in the other, there's espers, there's summons. But at the core of it, I always know it's a Final Fantasy game because of certain things. Like, there's chocobos. You're going to be able to cast white magic and black magic. There's sometimes blue magic. You're going to have summons. They might be called something different, but there's going to be a big earth guy named Titan, and I'm going to be able to use him to fight. I wish that D&D did something similar to that, because you could create the core game, but then is this D&D? And you're like, well, and this actually goes into a bigger argument of like, the OSR is probably D&D, because what do I think of when I think it's D&D? I think casting wizard spells, being a cleric with a god, weird spells like the clone spell, being able to like mind control this or charisma check that. That's what I think of. And so in my mind, all these OSR games are also D&D. They're just not like, D&D, but Final Fantasy is the same way. It's just Final Fantasy has somehow, probably because it's a video game, being able to hold on to the idea of like, oh, this is a Final Fantasy game. I don't know. It's kind of interesting. Yeah. Like I wonder how well Wizards of the Coast would do with D&D if they emphasized like all of those little things that make up D&D is actually what D&D is, as opposed to it's the Forgotten Realms. It's our official brand on this, And that's why people probably were like, 4th edition wasn't D&D. And I think a lot of people said that. They're like, 4th edition wasn't D&D. It was D&D in name only, because they could put the D&D name on anything. But it's like, this isn't D&D. This is some weird tactical board game. Like, what? And so, I don't know.
but fun if they'd have given it a chance.
Well, it was pretty good.
Yeah.
I got a couple Kickstarters in the mail. One of them
Yay.
is Monty Cook's The Weird.
The Weird.
I don't think I knew what I was kickstarting. It's not a bad thing. I was under the impression that this was going to be, it was marketed as a tool to help you put like weird things in your game. I thought it was going to be like essays and stuff like that to kind of like, how do you make a Monty Cook weird game? How do you make an Invisible Sun campaign? Like, what is the essence of weird? This is the book of the most random tables of all tables.
Weird.
it is solely tables, which is cool. And there are some really fun things in here. So I am not sad that I got this. But he has it listed out by fantasy, science fiction, Metropolis, which is like superheroes, and then horror and a couple of other things in here. And so you can kind of flip through and you're like, oh, I have a fantasy one. And like, oh, this will work for my fantasy one. And this is alternative fantasy spells. And you can roll on this table and be like, I have a spell that creates a furnace-like armor that appears around the target, providing, so furnace-like armor appears around the target and shields them. And so there's lots of fun. I was especially looking at the spell mishap table because I thought that was fun. Like, what happens when a spell goes wrong?
Awry.
And you're like, oh, okay, like it didn't cast well. It kind of has the same thing as Mercurial Magic as in DCC, but it's good. This is a fun book. This is not what I was expecting. And the other weird thing about this Kickstarter is Monty Cook. I kickstarted this along with a adventure that's like tied to it and some polyhedral dice that are made from like a silicone squishy material. And only this came in the mail. And I'm like, whoa. So then I go and check their website and they're like, well, yeah, the adventure's not done yet. We'll ship it when it's done. And I'm like, but in my mind, it's a Kickstarter. You ship it all at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? And so we got this book, but we didn't get the other stuff.
The other pieces, yeah.
So those are coming whenever they get done. But it's kind of nice to have the book, and Monty Cook always makes really good products. So I like sat down to read this and then just realized it was just tables. But tables are cool. I was unprepared for all of the tables. And I think it'll be a fun tool to inject weird in my game. And then I also got, I have it upside down, DCC 100. The Music of the Spheres is Chaos. This is a beefy box set. So that is the 100th adventure for Dungeon Crawl Classics. And it's a level 5 adventure, and it's like this thick of an adventure. It's got a whole bunch of stuff in here. There's also a game board in here and spinning tiles because the map you play on through character interaction spins, and then your characters are either blocked off certain areas or they can't go to certain areas. So, and my puppy just walked in with her toy, so there's going to be some crinkling sounds. Nice. I apologize. It's really cool. And I think this might be the penultimate campaign ending thing with my Peril of the Purple Planet. Like, I think when they leave the Purple Planet, this is the dungeon that I'm going to have them go through. So I'm really happy that it arrived in time.
Wait, of the 100 adventures for DCC, how many of them do you have?
There are not 100 adventures for DCC. There are 100 adventures that Goodman Games has made so far.
Okay.
So
gotcha.
I think it was 66 is when they stopped making 3rd and 4th edition adventures and started making DCC adventures. So I do not have many. I have many as PDF, thanks to Humble Bundles. But physically, I probably have, not counting the ones that I've bought PDF and printed, maybe like 10. So oh, and if I include Dying Earth, then I have another like 8 because that came eight adventures came with that. So, but
that's good. Very cool.
I don't know. I have a lot. They're fun. I like that game. So, yeah. And then I've been working on a small project, and I guess this was kind of like a topic for conversation, which we don't really need to get into, but it got ideas of like, maybe it's like writer's block, but I'm trying to write like a fun little hack of a game. And I'm like, am I even a game designer? What am I trying to do? Am I just trying to be like my friends who write cool games, but I'm not anywhere near as cool as them? And so definitely have that like imposter syndrome, I guess is what they call it. But like I had like I was home alone last night, and I was like sitting in front of my laptop trying to type, and I'm like, what am I even doing? You can't do this.
Oh no.
So
no,
not good feelings to have, but I wanted to say it out loud to be like, other people have these feelings too. It's not just you. Yeah. Like I can guarantee I'm not the only person trying to write an adventure or a small system or a hack of something. And you're just like, nobody's going to like this. What am I even doing? But
no, yeah, I mean, Megagoons, come on. And you're like experimenting with different dice systems. That sounds like a game designer to me. Nobody does that unless they're trying to figure out what they like or what they could use in the future when they do design something.
Well, and JP Coover was saying, I guess there was something on Twitter a while ago. He made a video about this saying like, he's like, I think everybody's a game designer. Like if you're at a table and you're just like, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, then you're a game designer. And you're not necessarily publishing game design stuff, but you're designing it for your players. And that really helped me get into a better mindset of like, no, like even if nobody sees this, you're still working and designing and things like that. And the thing is people will see this. I was looking at it and I'm like, this is going to make me $1 million, but like, that's not the point. The point is to make something fun. And so, like Mechagoons was fun to make and it's out there and I don't have good art for it, but it's still out there. And Logistical Locks was fun to make and it's out there, And so this will be my next one that I work on and things like that.
Dragon on the Mount. It's out there. Yeah. People have played it. And
that's right. I forgot about that one. There you go. People like that game. Yeah. It's out there.
There you go. It's an adventure. It probably needs another adventure now, but You're a busy guy.
I should write another adventure. I want to write never mind. I was reading Dying Earth the other day and I'm like, I should write a Dying Earth adventure. And I'm like, too busy.
You got 8 of them. yeah. But it's a great world where you would want to write.
It's such a good world. So keep your spirits up and realize that you're not the only person out there who feels like a phony sometimes, but you'll be awesome. So, and on that somber note, what's going on in Dungeon of the Mad Mage?
So we're playing, ran into some cool, like we're fighting some Hallister creations, which have been pretty fun. We're getting closer. We just found the stairs down, so we're ready to already go probably another level down. We're getting to the dregs here. It's getting smaller and smaller. We are looking though on this level to fight for the first time, which I've never fought before in a Dungeons and Dragons game, a Lich. We're on the hunt for a Lich.
Oh, snap.
So we'll get to see how cool or how awesome or how dead we'll be when we try to fight one of those. So that's interesting. I do like that. If you do play the campaign, Dungeon of the Mad Mage, you get a wide variety of creatures. They're really deep diving into the monster manuals and the books to get all these different things you need to fight or attack or do something with. Or sometimes you can negotiate or just work with or, move around or whatever. But if you ever thought, one thing that can happen when you play just a lot of lower level campaigns, you might be running into the same things over and over because your campaigns never really get much out of
like
that
goblins,
1 to 5 stage.
Slightly different goblins. These goblins are blue.
Kobolds, some orcs, or something like that. But now when you start to get in those higher levels, you really are starting to see lots of crazy creatures with lots of different abilities, a lot more saving throw kinds of stuff going on, special ability things happening. But it's been pretty fun. Now, we are certainly super powerful, superheroic characters at this point. Some of the stuff we're pulling off is crazy. But we also
level
have,
are you now? Are you said 17 or?
Yeah, 17. Okay. Even though I'm split level, but basically full level 17. Few of us have also, which has been really cool, weapons that evolve just like our characters evolve through play or doing certain things, and at certain points. Our Dungeon Master has been tracking, like, you've done this a number of times, And now, once you've done it enough, this new thing happens. This new ability manifests itself, or what, from this main weapon or thing. Like, so my bow has been manifesting powers and stuff too. So that's another creative way to put in fun things that's not just running what the book says to do, or go through it, but adding in other things that allow you to kind of interject with the game. So it's pretty good. We're super high level. We're slinging lots of cool stuff. Lots of cool magic items have been gotten, and lots of gold. We're getting so much gold now that it's crazy.
How's your attunement? Like, has that been a problem?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly. That's a big drawback for my character.
Is it almost like, what do I want to attune to this morning? Is it getting to that? Like, you keep those weapons, but you don't know which one to use? Or
it's more like we're not going to use things that would be useful because we're not giving up the attunements we already have. Like, for my guy, I used all my attunement slots were things that bumped my stats up to 18s or 20s. And I don't want to get rid of those to then attune to a weapon, but then my constitution goes back down to like a normal number. Whereas right now it's all 18s, 19s, and 20s. Every one of my stats are like ramped up due to attunement stuff. So all mine's wrapped up in trying to make my guy really high stat wise. So yeah, I have to pass things up all the time. I couldn't use a sunblade, or I couldn't use, these other things that you're going to attune to. So it's definitely hampering on that. But that's what it's supposed to do, right? It's supposed to keep an eye on that creep of power creep. It'll be interesting. And now this is also the point where you start to think about when you multi-level or you multi-class, it's great, but now you're at the level where you start to think, was it a mistake? Because you could be a 17th level wizard at this point instead of just the 11th level wizard and the 5th level, 6th level cleric that you win, or rogue or fighter or whatever, where you're taking, and it's worked all this way here, and it's got us here, and it's giving you all that versatility you wanted to get to this point. But then you start looking at, well, what would have happened if I just had stuck it out and just been full on 17th level, almost getting to 18th level, whatever. So you start to have those kinds of questions.
I think you're probably powerful in your own way, but it limits those big game ending, like teleporting out of a dungeon instantly, and 8th and 9th level spells. Like, those are
I'll never see those changing. In this.
But at the same time, I think you have to look at it as like, this is not the build I'm going for endgame, because you're treating that more of like a video game, but more of this is what my character is, And I'm sure you have magic items that are probably equal to like 8th and 9th level spells at some point, but
yeah. Well, and one of our guys is running around with like an AC 27 or something just ridiculous at that point. And what it makes it tough that I feel like you're super tough, but you can also be super brittle, because it can all fall apart at the wrong time. And then then you really feel how mortal your guy is. But you're at 100. We had a meteor strike hit one of our players, and it was like 100 and something damage right off, and he went right down. Like, it was just like, so there are things out there that still will grab 150 points of damage right off, or those kinds of things that'll just kill you outright. Word of death kind of stuff. So it's interesting to be at this high of a level to see what that looks like. But I still think
kill is still scary. Finger of death, things like that.
Yeah. But I still think, if I had to say it, I still think I enjoy that 5 to 10 level of adventuring. I think that's the sweet spot for me. Of there's enough power that you are more powerful than just a normal person. You're not so powerful that you're reaching towards demigods and godlike powers, and you're there. And you're just starting to realize that, yes, my character could go on and have more cool things, but that 5 to 10 area is the fun part to play, I think, where I think for me. So I think those are still my favorite parts of the campaign, is that spot.
5 to 10 is really good for me for like grid-based tactical combat stuff. And then I feel like 11 plus gets into like, wait, you can do what? Like, and then really 11 plus works better for theater of the mind And instead of like what are you trying to accomplish in this scene, as opposed to what are you trying to accomplish in this battle? And I don't know, that may like there's a reason that lower level or like OSR games just go like levels 1 to 10, and 10 is still very powerful in those games. You know, it's the equivalent of 20, but I don't know. Yeah, I agree. Like I think in D&D 5e, 5 to 10 is my favorite, and I like to start games at 5, and I feel good there. So,
and I'm playing the one I'm starting up, but I have our characters at level 1, and I'm looking at the creatures. One roll, and one of these guys are going down.
Yeah,
like you can't even plan for what's going to happen because they have so few hit points, and all of the creatures at the low levels can hit for at least 5 or 6 hit points of damage. That could set somebody down. So it's so crazy that level 1 is so brittle and like so you got to be careful. You'll kill your party off. But if they get to 3rd, usually you as a dungeon master, you can start to balance things out. You have a better idea.
Yeah.
5th, all the way up to 10th, you can craft things that are going to be challenging and they're going to like it. But past that, then it starts to get, you're back to, I don't know what's going to happen here. You could put a big beast out there that's a CR22 and they might walk through it because it's only a 1 creature, and they're just the economy of action is happening so crazy with them that they beat it. But then you could put out there, 2 or 3 CR, I don't know, maybe like 11s, and they could wipe your party out if they shut something down like they need to have. Like all of a sudden they shut the cleric down, and then that they've been relying on this whole time to keep them going, It's like, oh wait.
Well, you talked about that AC, like that one thing causes that AC to crumble. It's the same thing with monsters, because you come out with like 3 monsters and they're just like, okay, I banished this, and you're like, I these are not tough anymore because you got rid of the one thing that was going to make this kind of synergize with all the other monsters. And so 5e combat's weird. I'm hoping that the 2024 and the monster manual and stuff is a little more rebalanced, because I'll be honest, I haven't ran 5e since they've kind of revamped a lot of those monsters in Monsters of the Multiverse. Well, I take that back. I did run some Great Modron March with Monsters of the Multiverse, but like hypothetically that CR system is better and a little more fine-tuned.
Right. Yeah, I haven't used that. Well, and I was looking at Colville's kind of way to do stuff in his book too, and I've been itching to kind of try that out and see if it's a better way for trying to decide, encounter level and balance and stuff. But we're right at the low levels at the moment for the one that I'm running, so it's like you got
to see how tactical your players are too. So
yeah, they're brand new. It's low. We'll get the 3rd level, and then that stuff will start to kick in, I think. So.
Cool. Well, it sounds really awesome. I hope you get to play this week. So
yeah, it'd be fun. I'm hoping.
That's our show, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for liking and subscribing and sharing this podcast with your friends. We stream live Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. Pacific, and you're always welcome to join us and chat with us. That's all I got. We will be back next week. Well, I will be back next week. I think Lucian's out, so I'll see if I can find
for sure next week.
I'll find a guest, or we'll do a solo show with Jordan, those are fun too. But yeah, we'll be back next week with another episode of the Saturday Morning RPG Show. Take care, everybody.
Bye.